Welcome, my friends, to 2026, and it is time for some car games. And I say car games specifically because GTA exists. We've also got Screamer and FH6. But anyway, today we have some new stuff to talk about. I love talking about new stuff, speculating, but also actually maybe getting a little bit of confirmation as to when FH6 is going to come out, and also when we'll see FH6 for the first time, because the trailer we've seen so far, it's not really any gameplay. There's no cars in it, for God's sake. How do we not know that that's Fable? Fable could be in Japan. All right. What are we talking about? So in November, this kind of sounds like it was a long time ago. It's not. It's really not. Nate the Hate is a well-known leaker, knowing information about the industry and seeing when things are going to come out and when things are going to be announced and so on. They see things, they hear things, and this person is pretty reliable. In the scale of things, it seems like they sit in the kind of second category where pretty much everything they say is good. And in this, they suggest the first half of 2026 has been the target and remains as such. My first question on this is, do they mean it's been the target since the very beginning, or do they mean it's been the target as of most recent and that hasn't changed? And I think this is where I would say, in my professional opinion, I think, as we expected, FH5, and we were like all pointing to it, we all kind of expected FH6 to be announced in 2025. And I think the big change, obviously, was because I'm not going to say it. I'm just not going to say it. We know why the whole industry has had difficulties, is what I would say, organizing as to when they want to release their games. Again, not going to mention it. So I think the game was planned to come out 2025, maybe even earlier, but there was some issues with Forza Motorsport not getting the engine quite right at launch, and if they had, they could probably have started earlier. There's a lot of complications, but 2 games even are the cause of why this took so long. I mean, it's completely strange for them to just completely cut off Forza Horizon 5 unless they needed more manpower and womanpower at the end of the cycle to really get this thing down. But the last year, we've had basically no new content for FH5, even though it released. Now, this is not all the information I have, because some of you may have already seen this, because again, it came out on November 27th. We have got something a little bit new. So not only do we have a rumor that suggests FH6 is coming out in the first half of 2026, which is very exciting, by the way, because there's been a racing game drought for the last years. We have got some information from Matt Booty. And Matt Booty, despite having maybe one of the coolest names ever, or anyway, he said something pretty interesting. Go for it, mate.
Probably got more games than we can talk about in any one forum, and the one that's coming up is our Dev Direct show in January. So we're not going to be able to run the gauntlet on everything that we're shipping in the coming year, but I can tell you we will feature Playground in the upcoming Dev Direct in January. So be sure to check that out, and there'll be more than we can possibly put in that show, but we are going to make sure to highlight what Playground's been working on.
What? Matt Booty, you beautiful... Just to be clear, in case you don't know who Matt Booty is, he's like the president of Xbox Game Studios. He's in charge of games that are being made by Xbox. He's the one that... Get that game made! Sorry, I'm sorry. Matt Booty might be he's probably a very nice man. But basically, yes, we have got essentially double confirmation that we are going to hear about the game very, very shortly. And the Dev Direct is January. When in January, you may ask? Well, we already maybe kind of know. Well, it turns out that January 26th is the confirmed, but also I haven't really seen I haven't been able to like verify this, but the end of January is when the developer direct is. So we should find out maybe by the time I post this bloody video. It's going to be too late and they're going to be announcing it officially. But I've heard 24th, 25th, 26th. Basically, the end of January is when we're going to see Forza Horizon 6 and Fable again. By the way, Fable, maybe my favorite Xbox IP. Don't mess it up. I will be so annoyed. Fable 2 is the best, obviously. Anyway, so Forza Horizon 6 is coming probably in the first half of the year based on a pretty solid leaker. Forza Horizon 6 will be getting new stuff shown very shortly this month. And you know what's really obvious is that it's probably going to be an official trailer or actual gameplay. Now, my assumption here is that we're going to see the game come out maybe a little bit quicker than we expect. A summer release it's kind of wild to think about. I feel like most games release kind of early, pushing it into kind of spring. I don't want to make any absolute guarantees, but I don't think we'll officially see the release date in January. If we do, holy crap, they've been sat on this game for a really long time. But what I do think we'll see is an actual trailer, because I don't know if you remember, the trailer we saw, kind of not really a trailer. Like, they really just kind of showed us this, which is just a little desk area. It kind of feels like the reveal that they did, maybe even less so than the Forza Motorsport one. And that game still didn't come out for another 3 years after that, so... What I'm saying is we are getting this game so much sooner than a lot of people thought. And my perspective, as I mentioned, was that we were supposed to get this way earlier, and we just didn't because of... Yeah. And just before we move on to the next bit, here's another little bit of information. First Half has been a target for a long time. This was another tweet which kind of had the Matt Booty video on there, but you can't see it because Twitter is a piece of garbage. That's an insult to Twitter. I apologize, Twitter. We miss you. Let's move on. Forza Horizon 6 then. It is coming this year. However, this could be, and I normally the way I kind of put this point in the video is I say Forza Horizon 6 has a lot to meet up to. And I think I don't want to jinx it, because ultimately I want F86 to do well, of course, and I want it to be the best it's ever been. But I'm going to say it. F86 I think is too big to fail at this point. Forza Horizon is at its absolute peak. And that's not talking about, oh, this one's my favorite, this one's my favorite. No, the numbers are obvious. The entry level is super easy. The amount of DLC and the cost of them is pretty acceptable. The big expansions, there were multiple. If you are looking for a car game in this day, at this point, and you're interested in cars and little Jimmy, or you're like my age, the first game you think of these days ultimately becomes Forza Horizon. When we grew up, it was like Need for Speed, but obviously Need for Speed has been slowly doing its best. Now, not to say I prefer, but we know for sure that this game is gonna do pretty well. This is where it gets a little bit interesting though, because Xbox has not been doing incredibly well with their new system. And obviously something that you probably know is that Forza Horizon 6 is going to be on the new generation of Xbox Series X and S only, and PC, at launch. Later it's coming to PlayStation, and PlayStation is the dominant force within this sphere, okay? The reason they're doing this, that shall not be named, we already know, but it's to do a last push. Realistically, this is the last push they are using to get the Xbox sold so that people play GTA and lock in on GTA for the next 20 years until we get the next GTA. Because hopefully, I mean, I would like there to be cross-save and cross-play and all that kind of stuff. Rockstar might not do that because PC exists and they're pretty conservative when it comes to allowing that type of system, you know? But point is, this is their last shot to get that Xbox out the door, and by locking it to the Xbox specifically ecosystem at launch, they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to lock in those sales. Now, to be clear, they're also just not really caring about sales in the normal way, because Game Pass allows you to just jump straight in. And again, we normally talk about Game Pass in the form that they might actually make some changes to the game that might not be something that we enjoy as gamers. But I think because this title is so large and so guaranteed to do so well, this is not something they need to really do. They could just completely not. I mean, the amount of money that this game can make on like DLC and season passes and things like that is infinite. If they brought out a car pack today, I would probably still buy it if you know, the cars were interesting enough. And Forza could knock on doors these days and probably ask for money from the car manufacturers to put the cars in the game rather than the other way around. Normally, what happens is that for the majority of game developers, they have to beg and plead and do their absolute grovel to try and get the cars in the game. I don't think Forza's mostly at that point anymore. I think it's just like it should be. At least when it comes to like Toyota, Ford, the big ones, they're probably like, yes, yes, yes. They play it super safe. They don't do anything illegal. They get it locked in. Anyway, all of this is to say, this is really got to be a chance that they take it kind of in a different direction. We know most of the driving force behind Forza Horizon for the last 5 iterations of the game has moved to 2 different studios, and also we do know that a lot of the team that were heading up FH5 moved over to Fable. Now, whether that's still the case, there could be some jumping around. by the way, again, different studios, I have to mention that. But this is the point where they really have to make something different, in my opinion, for the longevity of the franchise. The location is not enough, okay? The cars are not enough. We need some significant changes that have been requested in some cases since the very beginning of the franchise. This is a very, very important point. The success initially is guaranteed, but the future success, that's a little bit more difficult. Forza Horizon 5 released on the previous Xbox and the current Xbox. That's not the case anymore. We are completely getting rid, and the problem there is that these current Xboxes aren't doing as well. So it's a little shaky. They know at any point they can pull the lever and release it on PlayStation, however, and that's again going to then get them to where they need to be. But I think if they want to be successful long term this time, they really need to make some significant changes. And for me to just say that and not give at least a couple of examples, that would be silly, wouldn't it? And I'm going to keep it nice and simple, to the point, because something Forza Horizon has done that I think is awesome, and I love it when it comes to other games, and they kind of pioneered this, at least in the current times, is things like the engine swaps and the drivetrain swaps. These are things that some people would complain about, but the majority of people are like, this stuff is awesome. We need more of this in more games because it really completely changes what you can do with cars. It improves it so that you can keep your favorite car for longer, and that's something that I tend to do. Yes, in Forza, I go around and collect all these cars, but I tend to then stick with the cars that I really like. Because of the amount of cars in the game, they don't tend to focus in on different types of handling per car, so everything feels very similar. So then when you slap on the ability to have everything put in all-wheel drive with a V12, everything feels incredibly similar. But I don't know if that's a bad thing in Forza Horizon. Like, I would like some difference, but like in the type of game it is. Okay, what I really want to see is something like the anti-lag. Remember the anti-lag in Forza Horizon 5 where they added the like it instantly made every single car much more interesting. You wanted to do it to every single car. For example, in Need for Speed, when they had the ability to put air suspension on the cars, you want to go back to all the cars you made previously and put air suspension on all the cars. They need to make a change, like, for example, window stickers, or, for example, multiple different tire kind of styles visually, going for different brands. I don't know. Allowing you to tint your headlights or taillights, something very Japan-esque, having drift charms. Things like this is something that I've been recommending to Need for Speed for so long, and they completely ignore it, but like, it's such an obvious thing. You just put on every car a new mount point, and you've instantly got customization that works across all these cars, freshening up cars even if you don't bother refreshing the model. That's something they need to do. And I wouldn't say this is the significant change that I'm looking for. It's a very useful change, but I wouldn't say this is a significant enough change to, you know, make people stick around. That's something that needs to be done with the festival playlist. And I don't even know how to suggest with that. I've already done it too many times, and it's just completely off my brain because I feel like I've perfected it. Anyway, F86 coming this year. I'm pretty excited.